I'm very excited to have you on the show, Alex. We were just saying that we haven't really had too much of an opportunity to properly chat with one another. So this will make for a really fun conversation today. But it's one of those things with the world of Instagram where you have these parasocial relationships with one another and you feel like you know each other and you feel like you're best friends already. But the
Yeah,
reality
exactly.
is that, yeah. Mm.
I think that it's so special to be able to network with people across the world and maybe share similar values and get to know one another through social media. And I always think back like, wow, this is so powerful. And ever since I started my journey on social media, I think the first step's the hardest step, like your first post. And when I think back to like, should I do this or not? And a couple of years ago, I just felt like I didn't really use any social media, and I made my own sort of like doctor profile. I remember, and I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to get out there and meet others and just put my name out there as well. And it just going back to that, and also probably only like 2 or 3 years ago, and I remember just having the profile set up, but there was, like, no posts, and I think it was the people that I worked with at the time, and I was really lucky because I had, like, a lot of the staff that I work with, my nurses at the time were actually dental students, and one of them you might know of is, Peter Newen, and he's a really is a up and coming dental graduate. I think he's in his 2nd year now, and yeah, so I got inspired from him, and he was working as a dental assistant with me in his final years, and he was like, "Alex, you should just do it." And then we just did it, and we just posted it, and so for your listeners out there who may not have social media or might be thinking about getting on the platform, it's just that first step that's the hardest, and then you go into that cave, that hole of social media, and that's what where I'm finding myself. I am like, you just spend so
Deep.
much time in. Yeah, yeah, getting trapped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're trapped in it now. So fun there, Alex. And that's kind of what I wanted to really dive into in today's episode is exactly that. And you were saying before about how it's always that first step that's really daunting. And I myself remember being a dental student and I think a lot of people have that similar story of like they create an account and it's just there. It's just there. It's a placeholder. It's dormant. We're like silently and quietly lurking. And my brother was the one that encouraged me. He's like, you should make like a dental account and just post. I'm like, what am I going to post? Like, I'm a dental student. And you kind of feel a little bit like, oh, but like, what do I post? And I don't want to do things that are unnatural or inauthentic. And I'm not someone that's going to go do this or do that. And you just feel icky about it. But I think over time, like, it's always the first step. And then you do it and then you kind of find your little niche or you kind of find what's you. And I think that's what's been really fun is watching your account grow, Alex, with starting off with a lot of like those clinical tips and tricks. And then now I feel like you've found your niche with just like the funny reels and skits that every time you post one, I always have such a good laugh because they're so
I'm so
creative, they're
happy. I'm
so
so glad.
entertaining.
Yeah.
Mm,
I get a real kick out of it as well. I think it all started from, and you're so right. I think that first step, and I guess you might be worried about being judged or people's opinions, but yeah, and I was so worried initially, like I'm gonna make sure I don't have big cases and whatnot. But yeah, initially it was all very I had Peter really editing behind the scenes initially. He was such a good guy, and I was just making sure that we had specific cases. Oh, I want to let the audience know that I can do this and this, but not just that
yeah.
and this. And I know that there can be niches where I'm the composite bonding person or I'm the implant person, but from my perspective, I was just like, I don't care. I'll just post whatever. Let's just post. And then now it's like
Yeah.
it's just evolved to like whatever comes. And usually when it's when we have a gap or in between patients, I'll be like with the nurses, "Oh, guys, let's do another skit." And we've got like a little content group within the nurses that I have, and a lot of them are like Gen Zs, and they're like, "Oh, Alex, we should do this," blah, blah, blah. And then we just like come up with it on the fly and just do it like a quick like 5 minute skit to. I just get a real kick out of it. It's because dentistry can be quite mundane eventually.
No, I think it's really fun. And like you said, it's taking that first step, putting yourself out there. We made a comment where you're like, you're scared of what people will think, or we're scared of being judged. And I was just talking to one of my really good friends just this morning about it as well. It's just like we kind of live in the world at the moment, and people almost call it like a loneliness epidemic, where even though we're all on social media and we're all online and we're connected, we're also so disconnected as well. And everyone's very like scared of like what other people will think about us, not just online but in person as well. We're always so scared to like put our hand up to ask a question, or be the first person that smiles at someone else, or be the first person that goes up to someone and say hello. And as a result of that, everyone is so scared of having regrets, or of scared of, putting yourself out there and being judged. But the reality is I think everyone craves it and everyone's just waiting for someone else to make that first step. And more often than not, when you just put something out there, you'll be surprised by how many people like actually respond positively to it. And I'm sure you found the same with like all your skits and all your funny videos and even all the educational posts, that the people that want to hear it will hear it and they'll connect to it and they'll resonate and they'll follow. And to be honest, like, the people that don't like it, then there's always going to be people that don't like it, but we don't care for them, right?
Exactly, exactly. It all comes back to the reason why I'm doing it, and it's for myself. It's for my own entertainment, and I've just found that um, uh, I think it's quite enriching for patients that do sort of have a liking towards you. Like I do have some patients that follow me, and I think it's such an enriching part of the relationship. It's almost to a whole new level where, oh, that's kind of like my dentist outside of work. He's a little bit goofy, a little bit funny,
Yeah.
or and it takes down. I think it breaks down those barriers because I feel like we're often seen as being all like proper and professional, but um, we also have this sort of human side as well.
Same thing with your nurses as well. I love that you have like that content group with your nurses. I've been doing the same. I'm still a little bit shy, like recording. I've only recently started recording more reels like at work as well. And I'm still a bit shy about it. But then even just like the most recent one that I did, like my nurse knows that I've been like my nurses know, they all follow my account, they all are very supportive of it. But I said to them one of them the other day, I was like, "Do you wanna do my voiceover?" And she's just like, "What?" And I'm like, "Do my voiceover, I'll change your voice." And then we did, and it just ends up being fun, right? And it's a way of connecting, it's a way of bonding, it's a way of building that team outside of just like professional clinical scenario. And when you're building and creating and doing that stuff together, I think that's what really creates that culture, right?
Yeah, I think it's been a really nice culture, practice building culture thing where I work.
Yeah, exercise.
Luckily,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just an associate contractor dentist. I don't own my own practice, but I'm fortunate enough for the people that I work with to allow me to have that sort of creative freedom because I know it can be, you might work in a practice where they want to be seen in a certain light or yeah. Yeah, like, sit down, just do your
Yeah.
work, and we have this
Yeah.
image, and here I am just, like, crashing along, like, "Who cares? Let's just, break it down and, create something special," and, um, I have all these ideas that I have, and it's just, like, slowly trying to, like, work at them and chip at them and in my own time. I think that's been really rewarding, in this phase of my career. I've been out about 13 years roughly. And I've always wondered like whether to own a practice, but as I've been working and speaking with friends, practice owners, and seeing evaluating opportunities as they come for ownership or partnership, I've always felt quite comfortable with my situation, uh, and I think that this is such a happy spot that I'm in, and to be able to come home and be with my family, and now that I have like a 4-month-old as well, it's so nice to come up, yeah, think about like just nothing but family and the next holiday that we have instead of worrying about practice issues or practice ownership things. Who knows? Maybe it might be on the cards and on the horizon, but I think that there's a privilege to be an associate. Do you own your own practice, Erica?
No, I'm an associate, Alex, and actually, you touching on this is kind of what I want. And if it's okay with you, I wanted to really unpick
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
dive
please.
into it a bit more.
Yeah.
I actually made the mistake talking to you the other day, saying that, like, oh, I assumed that you were a practice owner, and you were like, no, 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 I'm an associate. And I was like, actually,
Sometimes.
that's even better. No, but that's
Yeah.
even better because recently, and I think particularly with Gen Z as well, like I was talking to someone, and they're saying that the differences as our dental profession evolves, right? And one of the things with Gen Z in particular, and I was talking to Annalene Weston, she's a dental legal consultant, and she says Gen Z have almost this their fixation on needing to create a personal brand. And when she first said that, I was like, "Really? Like, what does that mean?" And then I thought about it. I'm like, "Oh, true. It's like creating, your unique identity. It's kind of like what you bring to the table when you go for interviews, but also when you're at a practice." And then, recently someone else was saying to me, they're like, "It's so important to be an entrepreneur inside your workplace." There's entrepreneurs who are the ones that go and create these, startups and companies, are the practice owners and whatnot. But then, even if you're a contractor, or even if you're an associate and just an employee, you can be an entrepreneur and be a leadership within the group. And I think that's what we do as associate dentists, right? It's like, even though we're within the practice, it doesn't mean that we just go there and we do our job and, like, everything's just reliant on the practice to, find patients for us or fill our books or market or whatever. Like, as an associate, you kind of do build your own brand, you build your patient base, you kind of build your identity, your little niche within that group as well. And that's kind of what I wanted to explore, because then I feel like that's something that you've really done, particularly with everything that you're saying about, oh, like dabbling in all these different areas of dentistry, but then, showcasing that, but then also showcasing the human side of it, and the funny and goofy side of it, and building that relationship with your staff as well. Um, I guess, like, yeah, what are your thoughts on that kind of concept of, whilst you're an associate, still, that doesn't mean that you just, like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, you can
I
still be that entrepreneur in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been a bit of a paradigm shift for me these past few years. I think that you've hit the nail really on the dot because uh, back when I was a young graduate dentist over a decade ago, I remember training for my interviews and having like the best CV, like fully detailed resume, things to attract potential employers to pick me up as a key candidate. They could be like work experience or skills that I've done, courses that I've done. But I feel in recent years, the importance of like a CV or a LinkedIn account as a dentist is not as important as if you had like a pretty good Instagram account or even just Instagram with showcasing your cases because I think me personally, I think that that would be more meaningful than a CV. Colleagues or new grads or students, and I tell them it just depends on what kind of dentist you want to be at the end of the day. You might focus on family and you might focus on other pursuits in life. Um, I know that in my younger years as a dentist, I focused on work. I focused on my career, and that comes with sacrifice and and just working through my skills. And it might be dedicating years in the country, which I did in rural WA. Only about 2 hours from Perth, but still a hard drive, and that really was sort of formed most of my 20s. And yeah, going back to social media, finding your niche or just posting some cases, and it can be a private account. That could be something that you could have and you could share with your potential future workplace or your future sort of boss that you decide to when you apply for a new job. If I was a business owner and I saw that, I can really see the work and the output, the passion, the quality, their dedication, and so that's a key attributes for me when I see something like that. And even even as at an associate level, the colleagues that I feel like I'd like to work with, or colleagues that I can mentor, I can see that they're definitely trainable. They've got like that useful energy, the time, the passion to go through photography. Um, so again coming back to I guess the core idea of that first step.
There's a lot that comes with leaving university and properly adulting that no one really prepares you for. As a new grad with an income and newfound responsibilities we don't know what to do with, managing finances can be really tough. That's where JS Medical and Dental Finance comes in. Specializing in financing options tailored to medical and dental professionals, JSMDF is a completely independent broker dedicated to finding the best bank and lender for your unique situation. Led by the incredible Jason Savage, who personally came to my rescue and worked his magic and helped me secure a loan before I even started working, JSMDF is committed to supporting you throughout your personal and professional journey in whatever way you need. Whether you're looking to buy a house, a car, a practice, or pay off that year-long CPD course you signed yourself up for, JSMDF offer comprehensive advice tailored to your short and long-term plans. Their goal is to be with you from day one and thoroughly understand your financial needs and provide solutions that best work for you. And so if you're looking for some advice or you simply want to explore your options, get in touch with Jason and his team. A big thank you to JSMDF for helping make being an adult that extra bit easier and for supporting the graduate dentist community. And I think, like you said, beyond just like having a social media account, I think it's what it shows like, what it's reflective of in terms of like the person behind it. In that, yeah, it's scary, but I think someone who's willing to do it is like, okay, they're willing to do scary things. They're willing to put themselves out there. It's okay if it's not perfect because I think it just shows that if you're willing to put yourself out there and to be reflective of your cases, that's a sign of someone who's willing to grow, who's got that drive to do better and to improve. Um, and yeah, I think it's reflective of a lot of just attitude, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I remember like making my first few little like vlogs or skits. I think what I've learned from like just watching like the social media celebrities like Mr. Beast and other influencers, it's just like just getting out there and just not caring too much about the quality of the content, but just like posting it because you'll learn so much from each post. You'll be like, oh, I need cameras here, or I need microphones, or I need this light. I need to talk in a certain way or pronounce things a bit better or direct the team or the nurses in a certain way so that we can get the right angles or the right videos. And not even just like that sort of content, but also there's professional content like showcases of your own cases. And oh, I need to take my photos better this way or without that much blood so that it presents better. Um, on my portfolio. And that also translates, you don't have to like focus on social media, but also that could be like as part of a little PowerPoint or keynote presentation during your consultations. And that can help with um, your own communication with patients and communicating your points across to patients. And that would eventually lead to treatment acceptance, trust. Um, and I think that would sort of motivate you to do better.
I wanna like was hone in on one thing that you said that Alex that I really love, which is like not focusing too much about like the quality of it. And I think saying something like that, like all the dentists listening to that immediately just like shrivel up and cringe because the inner perfectionist of all of us is like, what do you mean? It has to be perfect and needs to be exactly right, right? But that concept, and you're talking about it in the context of just like creating content, but it's the same with when it comes to our clinical procedures as well. Obviously, you aim for excellence, but then people always say that perfection is the enemy of good, right? And one of my favorite books is like Atomic Habits, and one of the stories within it that I really love, and I have to remind myself this because you talking about this has been my current journey in creating like reels as well, and just filming myself going through like stories and sharing tips and tricks about communication. It's just like when you get paralyzed about needing it to be perfect, I'm like, no, 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 just do it, get it out there because you will learn more just by doing it and evolving rather than fixating on getting it perfect, right? But anyway, back to the story with Atomic Habits. They were like, there was a study. I'm going to completely butcher this because I think it's been retold so many times. It's like Chinese whispers. I think the original story has been like kind of butchered, but it was some sort of university like college professor, and I don't know whether it was pottery or it was photography, something like that, but he split the class up in half, and he told one half of the class that they had 1 year to capture the perfect photo, and that was their one assignment for the assessment. It was just you have to take the perfect photo, or pottery or whatever. Let's go with photo. I think you have to take the perfect photo. And then he told the other half of the class, you just need to take as many photos as you possibly can this year. And so those are those 2 assignments. And while some people may think, "Oh, the person that, you know, fixated their entire year on capturing the perfect photo would do better," the reality was that the people that took just as many photos as they possibly could ended up creating such better, like, final pieces because they just got those reps in of just trialing and figuring it out. Oh no, actually this photo didn't work well because this lighting wasn't in the right way and this wasn't good. So I'm going to evolve it. And actually the composition wasn't correct. Actually the content and the actual, whatever it is I was trying to capture actually isn't a good idea. So I'm going to change it and do it. And they evolve and just through the whole nature exercise of just constantly doing it again and again and again, they learnt so much faster than the people that were just fixated on getting the one thing correct. And we see it in uni as well when you spend 3 hours trying to do a class 2 filling and you keep polishing and polishing and polishing it, and then you realize, you know what? It probably looked better 2 hours ago.
I agree. I think in our profession, I think dentistry really hones in on being a perfectionist or taking pride in your work or getting 100%. And I think in real life, we're only human, and we try to minimize our risk and minimize mistakes. Uh, and I think also what really I feel like is maybe not so stated in our profession is the anxiety with working as a dentist and mental health. And I was too young to know whether if I was anxious or depressed. I just thought, man, I'm just so worried about uh, uh, hitting that nerve after doing a filling, or breaking a file in a root canal, or not being able to take out a tooth. And um, I think these little challenges that we face in our profession, or even not even just clinically, but maybe it could be work practice anxiety, where it could be like toxic staff or toxic colleagues that could be around you. I think these are things that uh, uh, they're quite maybe hidden or not so discussed openly in our profession. And yeah, we do have like that historical suicide uh, uh, sort of thing in our yeah. And I feel like uh, we really just have to. It comes back to our the people around us, our family, friends, and being able to share our experiences together. And I think the platform that you've developed here, Erica, is such a great outlet for that, and that can really maybe resonate with your audience. But I think that being in it in this part of my journey for over a decade, I really feel like yeah, that there are still things that I might feel a bit anxious about, but from experience, from that repetition that you say, bringing back in the reps of like having done all this, million fillings or whatever, slowly with time. And this is what my mother-in-law told me. I just think my in-laws are just awesome people, and they said, she said that, Alex, don't be too anxious. Uh, the anxiety that you might be feeling from work or from your colleagues or from whatever it is in life, with time, as you get older, you'll find that the anxiety will slowly diminish. And it really wasn't actually there to begin with. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for
I just,
giggling.
it hit deep. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's something that I always go back to from
Mm.
what she said.
You said, like, back then you were too young to know whether it was anxiety or depression or whatever it was. You were just so worried about, you know, hitting the pulp or fracturing a file or whatever those things
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Can we try bringing you back into that new grad Alex mentality? We're
Yeah.
going deep, but
Yeah.
it's because we have
Yeah.
so many young dentists that reach out and they're like, I hate this, like, when will I be good? Or when will I stop being anxious? Or when will I stop dreading going to work? When will I be able to, like, and I hear this, like, all the time, like, all my friends, so many of my friends, so many of our new grads, where they're like, "I don't want to look at the day ahead because it will just ruin my day," or I'll have anxiety all throughout the weekend just knowing whatever is,
Oh,
like, Monday morning is gonna happen. Like, I think it's so, like you said, understated, but so many people feel that way. When did it stop? Or is it, or it doesn't? Like, what's that? How was your thought process through those years?
I think it stopped for me. It probably stopped maybe about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I still get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not invincible. I think that it it happens to the best of us, even our heroes, our role models. At the end of the day, I think I always tell my patients who tell me that they're so anxious or they're on antidepressants or they've got like issues or crazy issues like a divorce or their dad died or someone died, and I just tell them like I feel you, and for the new grad dentist, I feel them, and we all go through it. I think to be anxious is to be human, and uh, and we slowly find ways to manage that. To be able to detach from your anxiety is a powerful skill, and it's something that you slowly develop. Dental school teaches you how to do a filling, how to do a crown prep, how to make a denture, but I don't think it really prepares you for real life and working with patients, colleagues, dealing with staff, or a boss that might be um, on top of you. Uh, and going back to my time as a young dentist, just the other day with my wife, I was just saying, like, I remember being awake all night. This was before I met her, and I'd be awake all night. I'd just be like on the bed, just like with my eyes open and just thinking about work, dentistry, and I'd look at the time and it'd be like 11 p.m. and probably at midnight. I'm a late owl, and then I'll be just like constantly thinking, and then I look at the time again. It's like, oh, it's 6 a.m. and and then I'll wake up and
You're like, "Oh
uh,
my god." Yeah.
I don't have that energy anymore. I'd still be fine, and I'd be working still like at 100%. But I don't do that anymore. That's past me now. Uh, and yeah, I think it kind of that sort of energy and anxiety probably stopped about 5 to 6, 7 years ago, and it's just finding your inner confidence, and sometimes you do have to fake that confidence, and having your own support network or your own outlet. One of my old friends said that he kayaks. He's a psychologist, and he's like a sponge. He said he takes on board all that mental energy, that mental health energy of his patients, and he kayaks on the river and he lets it loose. So I think it's that balance of work and life, and yeah, some people have, strange balances where they work so much and they have a little bit of leisure and that's enough for them. It's everyone's different, and uh, I'm slowly coming out of this personality where I've always been so driven, and I've always like, oh, what's next? I want to do more all on fours. I want to do all these crazy stuff. And then I've gone full 360 lately, and I've been like, man, I'm liking this composite bonding stuff. This all this simple stuff, uh, this
Yeah,
is this is
keep
pretty cool, like, seeing patients, like, so happy after doing something that's so little or so, like, so easy to do for me. It's
Mm.
just like, I've come full through. I love doing implants, I love doing all the All-on-4s and stuff like that, but I've gone full 360 doing composite bonding, and I get a real kick out of it. It's so fun, and then seeing these patients look in the mirror and they're like, "Fuck, yeah, I'm sorry, can I say that?" Uh, and they're like, "Whoa," and they're like so happy, and those are the
Yeah.
joys of your career when you do something, and like for me, I think it's so small and such an underrated treatment, and seeing your patient so happy. Really, my advice to the new grads is when you do something like maybe just getting a tooth out of pain or doing a clean on a kid, and that little kid first dental experience is so happy. Don't take that happy experience away. Don't take it for granted. Um, don't cut it short. Don't be okay. Get out of here. My next patient. Really be a leech. Really suck that energy in. For me, I think that's what really has been so huge for me because that one or two patients that you see who are so grateful to you will really sort of help with all the other patients and other stresses in your life. You know, the patients that are super demanding or like kind of like when you're doing a full set of veneers or something, and there's like something that's a little bit off, and and you just got to take that in, and it's all just part of your work, and just remember those happy patients, those patients that love you, and that's how I've found my career outlets in my career where it gives me fire, that renewed fire, because I know that, as we go on, we can get more jaded. We can get, "Oh, this is mundane," and you might decide to do something else, or you might leave the workforce, or, um, yeah, find little projects that you can do. Yeah.
I often say on the podcast that the more I do, the more I realize just how little I know, and how dentistry is just one of those careers where you never stop learning. But let's be real, getting the right training can be expensive, time consuming, and sometimes just straight up overwhelming. That's where Ripe Global comes in. Founded by Dr. Lincoln Harris, Ripe Global is completely changing the way that we learn. They offer immersive, hands on training that actually fits into your life. Whether it's through improving your preps, getting faster with composites, or tackling more complex cases, you'll be learning from some of the best clinicians in the world without having to take time off work or spend thousands on travel. And so, if you're serious about upskilling and boosting your confidence in the clinic, check out Ripe Global today. Hit the link in our show notes and let's start learning smarter, not harder. That's so wholesome. That's so wholesome. And
Mm.
I it actually reminds me of, so we were just saying yesterday, this weekend I've been at Lucas Lessman's course, and you were saying it's a your younger brother that was there as well. I didn't get the chance
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to meet him, but Lucas actually said something just yesterday. It's exactly like what you said. He's just like, my inserts are always the last thing I do that day. And he's just like, "They're the last thing I do that day." And he's just like, "Because you don't wanna take that joy away from the patient and kick them out the door because you've got a 2/7 MOD filling to do right after them." He's like, "Nah, you don't need to do that filling at the end of the day." It's just like, "Do that another day." He's just like, "Don't take that joy or that moment, just, like, sit with the patient, like, enjoy it with them, give them all the time in the world." And he's just like, "I'd rather not rush it. It means we're staying there till 9 p.m. at night." Like, nah, all my attention is there for them because the last thing I want to do is to have to like rush that and then, see a toothache or do an emergency. He's like, I'm not doing them justice. I'm not doing that last patient justice either, right? It's kind of like what you were just saying then. I'm like, oh, how nice. Like that's a really nice sentiment to have. And the other thing you were saying as well is just you went through your phase of like being super driven and wanting to like get as many cases under your belt of like implants and all on X's and stuff. And I hear this time
Yeah.
and time again from so many senior dentists where they say it's like you kind of go through that trajectory of growth where you start off, and I think particularly for our generation as well, you hit the ground running and you're like, I want to do this, I want to do that. You're super driven, you're super ambitious, and you get all those cases, and you kind of get in some ways like fixated on the technical side of dentistry of like upskilling clinically, and it's just clinical, like getting your clinical reps in and stuff. But then the more senior I hear like these dentists, like they've kind of been there, done that, and then they kind of turn 360, much like you have said yourself, Alex, and finding joy in doing less dentistry, like being able to achieve excellent results by doing less dentistry, and they become more minimally invasive, or they end up fixating more on just like building up the child so that they never need a full mouth rehab, or working with a young patient so they never need an all on X, and just doing those little things, and it kind of just reconnects you with like the human side of dentistry, right?
Yeah, I think we can get stuck in like how many crowns we do, or how many CERECs we
Yeah.
do, or how much we make, and um, I think that focusing on yourself, your health, uh, and that sort of reward, that the gratitude from your patients is I think more meaningful.
You were saying that you had that friend that like was kayaking and that was their outlet. And then that's so true. Like whilst they were a psychologist, I think in many ways as dentists, we are also like, our second job is being a psychologist, I think. Also need a
Yeah,
degree in that
yes.
because you have so many just anxious, but the typical like, oh, you tell your patient to open up and they tell you your life story. You're like, no, I just meant your mouth, but sure. But then that's kind of what we see, right? What was your outlet? What is your outlet or way of decompressing after a big day? Someone asked me a question on Instagram just last night. They're like, "How do you deal with a bad day?" Like, what was it? Your friend was kayaking. What was it for you? Or what is it for you?
It was climbing. It was, I think when I close my eyes and I think back on, like, if I could just leave the workforce, what would I be doing? It'd be like climbing. It'd be in a van or traveling around Japan in a van and bouldering. Uh, I've recently, probably in the past year or two, I've given up climbing and bouldering for my hands and also time with family. But my outlet's my son and just coming home to his smiling face and also gymming, exercise. I think as a new father, I'm sort of juggling these 3 things of, providing of yeah, time with son and cherishing his early moments, and then, my own health, so, jogging, exercise, health, and, um, so those are my 3 sort of, uh, elements that I'm juggling, and my outlet's really just exercise. Teaching, it's a new passion that I'm sort of discovering and making, um, lecturing content, educational content, uh, has been really rewarding, and yeah, so those are that's where I am.
I want to go into your teaching in a moment, but circling back on just yeah, like your friend sharing about kayaking, you yourself saying with like bouldering and exercise. Um, it's so powerful. Like very, very recently, it was only 2 weeks, so it's, like, super recent, but a group of our dentists, the dentists within our group just had this crazy idea of just like, "Oh, let's start a run club." None of us are runners, right? Actually, I've done a little bit of running, but by no means we're not, like, marathon runners or elite athletes or anything, but one of my
Mhm.
like, one of my, colleagues, she's just like, "Oh, Erica, like, can I come running with you?" And I'm like, "I'm not very fast, but, like, why don't we go we'll do it together and like I don't actually work on the same days as her. So it was just like a nice opportunity just to like bond with one another. And so we decided to go for a run together. And then the other dentist caught wind of it and they're just like, wait, we want to come. We also can't run, but like FOMO, right? So they decided to come with us. So 2 weeks ago, it was the four of us, and it was like, oh, what happened? It was like 9 p.m. at nighttime because we were all procrastinating and dawdling or whatever it is. It ends up being 9 o'clock at night. And we just decide to like go out towards like Brisbane City around the Story Bridge area and we just go running. And then we ended up running like 5Ks. It was like very incredible. Like for people that aren't runners, we ran 5Ks, just had a lot of fun. And then
Mhm.
ended up like going out, getting dessert afterwards and getting back home at like midnight. This was on a Thursday night, mind you, but it was so fun. And then this week, just this coming Thursday, we last week after our runners high, we were all saying we're like, oh, let's do it. Let's make our run club. Let's do the same thing this time next week. Anyway, come Thursday, it was raining all week. Like we've had like a huge heat wave in Brisbane and then like heaps of thunderstorms. And so all of us were kind of using the rain as an excuse. And we are like, oh, it's raining. Oh, that probably means we're not going to run tonight. That's okay. And then I use the excuse of like, oh, I've got Lucas's course this weekend. There's like 4 hours of like pre-reading material. And then one of ours, then she's like, I had such a big day at work. I'm so stressed. I don't think I want to go. And then the other girl, the other dentist is like, oh, like I need to go like to IKEA and pick up like things. So we're all just making up excuses, right? And then our one friend, one of them is just like, no, guys, like you guys, this time last week, you all said you wanted to do it. What are all these excuses coming at? She's like, no,
Weak.
it doesn't say it's raining. Week, right? It's just like, it doesn't say it's raining at 9 o'clock. Like, we're going to do it. And then one of the other girls is just like, oh, no, you guys go ahead. It's okay. And he's just like, no, we're outside your house. Like, we're all carpooling. We're outside your house. We're going to go. We roped in another one of our dentists, and her boyfriend decided to come along. So it's literally like 10 o'clock at night. And we didn't run that far, but we ran like 3Ks. We ran like so much faster than we did the week before. But like during the run, we were all just chatting and just having fun. And someone said a comment and they're like, oh, apparently studies show that you can't be like moving and running or doing exercise or bouldering or whatever it is, like doing an activity and being like anxious at the same time or overthinking.
Ah,
Right? Because, like, all throughout the evening,
yeah.
we ended up all just, like, laughing and having fun, and I think just doing it with friends as well, it just meant that, like, your legs go numb and you're just moving. It was just movement, and our heads just cleared, and afterwards, we're all sitting in the car, and, like, all of us, we were like, "That was so much fun. That was so good. I feel so light." And our one friend that was, like, trying to get us to do it the whole time, he's like, "I told you guys all. Like, I told you all you'd enjoy it," right? We're like, "This is so good. Like, let's do it. Let's do it next week as well." But I think sorry, it's like a long story, but it's the whole, like, I think movement really helps with just, like, clearing the head.
Oh, so
It's
much.
very easy when you're just like, sitting in one position all day looking through loops and just fixating on those millimeters and you're worrying and you're so stressed about it and just kind of taking a step away and just moving, like I really think it clears the head. And that's what we found, and just having those, like, the people to do it together with. And again, we come back to that whole, like, culture and camaraderie and like bonding with the people around you. Like, it's very easy to feel isolated, and everyone's a little bit scared to be the first one that initiates. But when you do, you realize everyone's craving that same kind of connection, and just it's nice just to be able to do that together. Hmm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Mm.
That's,
It
I
was
love
just a
that.
fun story. Yeah.
I think what you described is like a core memory. It's like one of those memories that you develop that you'll probably always remember. I think that with work and dentistry and, things that we do every day, time goes by so quickly. But for those sort of moments where it's kind of spontaneous, you're not sure what will happen, I think those are things that we can't miss. And when going back to my bouldering and climbing, I think those were my happiest times of my life, doing things that are almost on the fly, unexpected, or you're not too sure. I think this is so pertinent for dentists that are new to living in rural areas or regional areas. You're really isolated. You might be really far away from family, and uh, your podcast or online courses are a really great way to learn and almost socialize as well, even if it's parasocial. Um, but for myself, as I was living in Bunbury, which is 2 hours from Perth, um, I had to find my own network, and the friends that I found were a lot of dental friends. But I think I had the most joy and the happiest moments of my life with the non-dental friends, and that was really refreshing. So going out of my comfort zone and sort of going to a gun club and trying shooting, or the climbing community in the southwest of WA. It was so much fun, and I had such a good time doing those things. And sometimes it can be a bit too much when we're always talking about teeth amongst our friends or our dental friends. That it's good to have that outlet where you don't have to, or you can with other people that aren't really dentists. And um, those were the happiest times of my life, just climbing and being on the wall or being outside and being with nature, being one, and just smelling the air. And uh, uh, those are the elements that really make up your life. Yeah, I think that, if I stop being a dentist, and our patients will get on, they'll live their life and they'll find someone else. And um, you sort of think back what's important in your life. And for me now, it's my family, and I always think about like my humble bubble, which is like everything at home I focus on. And I don't want to think about what others think. And I don't want to compare what others might have. And sometimes you might, as a young graduate, you might be quite worried about, oh, do I have the best job, or am I making enough compared to my friend, or do I have the right skills or the right mentor? But I guess what I've learned is that we shouldn't compare, and we should only really compete with ourselves and compare, um, you know, your my life. And am I living for am I working for tomorrow, or am I living for today? It's a balance of that, or like kind of like the YOLO culture of spending all my money. And yeah, finally a dentist, and I'm gonna buy a nice car and go on lots of holidays, and it's different for everyone, and I guess what you sort of want to pursue in life as well.
You all know that if there's one thing I am super passionate about and always advocate for on our podcast, it is our mental well being as dentists. There's no denying that our profession can demand so much from us, and it can drain us physically, emotionally, socially, and mentally. And some days it can all just feel a little too much. This is where our friends at Dental Practitioner Support come in. Whether you're new to dentistry or have been practicing for years, Dental Practitioner Support is here to offer guidance, reassurance, and a safe space to talk about whatever it may be that's weighing heavy on your heart. They provide 24-hour services that are completely confidential and independent, so you know that you will always have someone to turn to. Whatever your scenario may be, Dental Practitioner Support is just one call away. And so, in case you ever need it, save the number 1-800 377 700 or visit their website at dpsupport.org.au. Remember, as we say time and time again on the podcast, you are never alone, and we really are all in it together.
Yeah,
How long were you in Rule for?
about 5 years, 4 5
5
years.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you grow a lot clinically during those 5 years? Like, did you kind of know what side of dentistry you want? Because, like, as you said, Alex, like, you kind of do a little bit of everything, hey? Like, you're very much one of those, like, super GPs that, does composite bonding, does aligners, but does, implants and All-on-X and a little bit of everything. How has that kind of trajectory developed over time and doing it at your own pace? And, like, how did that evolve?
Um, so working out in the country, I was exposed to a lot of patients, and I had a really good mentor, and he's a prosthodontist. His name's Dr. Tim Ewan. So I owe a lot of my foundational knowledge to my role model, to my mentor, and we had a good team of dentists, and they also were great mentors teaching, and that's where I learned like full math rehab and kind of like what I think Paul, your brother, teaches, and crowns and veneers and things like that. I guess I was lucky. I had really good mentors, and since I've been in the city almost a decade, I'm working with another prosthodontist, and his name's Dr. Michael Zeninovich, and he taught me a lot of skills surgically, enriching my surgical aspects of dentistry, and that's been really enjoyable. And it just all sort of slowly. I was quite driven in my early years, so I invested heavily in courses to teach me core skills like orthodontics, braces, aligners. And I'd sit down, and every year I'd be like I'd write a list, and I'd be like, okay, this year I'm going to focus on orthodontics. I'll do courses on orthodontics. Next year there'll be implants. The year before would have been prosthodontics or full mouth
Kind of like you
rehabilitation.
did one thing each year, right?
Yeah, but then you've got to be a bit
Mm.
clever, because if you're going to do orthodontics, it's going to be like, okay, I might have to invest a couple of years at one place, because orthodontics really ties you down. But I can say that being able to do almost everything really equips you to treat holistically to your patients, and you don't have too much of a bias. Like, I don't want to just do all on four all the time, or yeah, let's just all on for that. But you might decide to straighten teeth instead, and treat it slightly differently. And I think as the young generation, the next generation of young dentists or dental graduates, I think that it is quite important to slowly appreciate the different disciplines, if you're wanting to be kind of like a good holistic dentist, a well-rounded dentist. Um, that, and power that with your sort of small Instagram account of things. I think that that's such a powerful combination. And yes, it's like slowly over time you just build those skills. And one of my other mentors, he's an orthodontist down south, and his name's Dr. Ben Tai. He taught me a bit about my basic fillings, and he I never forget what he told me about, Alex. Once you get like that perfect filling done right, or that crown prep done right, now focus on how many times you pick up the drill, how many times you pick up your instruments and to be able to do things with confidence, like drill once, yeah, and you just push the pedal once and you finish drilling in that thing and boom, done. And then you swipe only once, and that improves speed and efficiency. Um, and to be able to do, I did that like literally yesterday, and I did this extirpation in like, I'm not boasting, but like in like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm like, hey, you're done.
Yeah.
Took off my gloves, I stood up, and the patient was
Yeah.
like, what? You're finished?
What?
Uh, yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's like a little cool moment. I'm like, yeah, thanks for trusting me.
No, I had that exact same scenario literally just, like, on Thursday, and it was a very, like, proud moment, like, we it's so easy to constantly, like, focus and fixate on, like, when things don't go right, that every so often I think we kinda do need to give ourselves credit when we do something
Mm,
really well,
mm,
but,
mm, yeah.
I had usually at normal I work between 2 workplaces, and normally at one workplace where we have, like, a Medit scanner, and we have to like we can't really do same day crowns. Usually I book in like an hour and a half for a crown prep. Like that's kind of and I'm like always frustrated. It's like I haven't really been able to shorten it, but like it takes time, like making your putty and then prepping the tooth, and I'm probably like fluffing around so much, and then our scanner takes a while to load and blah blah blah, and then you temporize. But then at my other workplace, we have a CEREC and we're able to do same day crowns. And so usually for my prep appointment, I book 50 minutes. And again, it's kind of like what I've just decided was comfortable for me to do. Anyway, reception booked in a patient for a crown prep, and I've actually not seen this patient before. I was doing the crown prep for another one of the dentists, but they booked in half an hour for me. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of pushing it, but I think I can do it, right? Like, I think I
I
can do
love
it.
this.
But then
Yes.
what happened was then I get a pop-up note and you're like, patient's running 10 minutes late.
I saw this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Patient's running 10 minutes late." Also, it was right before lunchtime, and we were doing a Halloween potluck. So, like, we had pizzas on the way, everyone had baked stuff, so there was, like, a full party going to happen in the lunchroom at 12 o'clock, right? And so I'm like, "What? I now have 20 minutes to do this crown prep on this 2/6." I was like, "No, I think we can do it, right? I think we're gonna do it." And so we prepped it, and just to because it's like, look, I know it's not the end of the world if I run late, and obviously I don't want to be, completely butchering this tooth, and like, obviously as a patient on the other end, I still want to do a good job. I'm like, I'm gonna see how intentional I can be with this. And so I took a photo at the very beginning just to get the timestamp, and then I prepped the tooth, and then took a photo at the end. It was 15 minutes, and I was just like, wow. I think it's the fastest I've ever done a crown prep. Finished it, walked out, and then I was like, it was so nice though, because like our lab coordinator who helps us make the crowns, she's like, "Oh my god, these margins are so good." My practice manager's like, "You did that in 20 minutes?" She's like, "Erica, it's bad news. Like the pizza's actually delayed. So you actually still have another 20 minutes before lunch." But she's like, "But now we know you can do it that fast." But
That's
and then
so
I had like
cool.
some it was so cool. That was very rewarding. And I had someone just ask me, they're like, "What do you feel like you did that helped you with that time?" And it's exactly like what you said, Alex. It's just as a new guy, we spend so much time just like you know, drilling a little bit and then measuring it and then drilling a little bit and then checking it, and then you're like kind of like just fluffing around with it, but it's just
Yeah, yeah.
foot on the pedal and be intentional, minimize how many times you need to pick it up, and then you kind of it's just being a bit more intentional and purposeful with it, right?
Comes with repetition, comes with um, the more you do, the better you'll get. Hesitation will cost you time and energy, and but yeah, that comes with confidence and um, yeah, good story. These sort of moments, I think, are really growth moments.
Big growth moments,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, where you grow, like just like
I can't do an extirpation in
yeah.
5 minutes. That's next level, but I'll work on it.
um, it's like when you're just starting out and you're doing your first crown. I
Mm.
remember it took me like 4 hours,
Yeah,
or
mine did
like
too.
a post core, like it was pretty old school, but doing like a Duralay post core build up, pattern resin build up, and that took me like 8 hours just to do a bloody post to make a post. Yeah, so uh, or just having your team around you sort of exert that slight pressure of, "Oh, I'm sorry, I put it in for half an hour." And that's where you grow, getting out of your comfort zone. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, yes, that was 100% what it was. It was pushing, but like just on the it's on the edge of discomfort is where
Yeah.
you grow the
Yeah.
most. But it's also like you said, it's a huge just kind of giving yourself just like, hey, you know what, that like a bit of a pat on the back. Because yes, and when I first started, it would have taken me like 4 hours to have done that. But kind of pushing yourself a little bit, it's very good fun. You're teaching now a lot, Alex. How did you get into like the teaching space? Like you're obviously learning a lot. Now you have so many areas that you kind of have passion. I know you're teaching in aligners, you're teaching in implants and photography. Like how'd you get into the teaching space?
Peter,
Mm.
Peter Nguyen,
Yeah.
who was my dental assistant at the time,
Yeah.
and he really sort of pushed me. And it's mad respect to like, he was a dental student at the time, and Audrey. Audrey was
I know
she's
Audrey as
also,
well.
yeah,
Mm.
part of the same year
Mm-hmm.
group. They were my dental assistants on Saturdays, so
So
we had
good.
such a good
Yeah.
time. I missed those Saturdays with them, but yeah, they'd always just push me as I was sort of kind of like mentoring them too, and but they were mentoring me on like social media, and I'm not that savvy, and they were sort of pushing. And I think that that's what's important for even experienced clinicians, or you think you might be at the top of your game, but there's so much still a lot to learn from the new graduate, or like your younger dentists. They, as much as they have to learn, I feel like there's also so much for me to learn from them. Um, and so yeah, Peter and Audrey, they sort of helped me out with my initial social media posts, and then I sort of felt like, oh, I really would love to get into teaching, and I credit my role models, Tony Rotondo, and a famous Italian dentist called, or he's Italian or Swiss or something, Egon Ears, and I really loved the slides that they make, and I thought, oh, I would love to do that. So I started documenting cases just with my photography, with the photos that I took. I just took photos of everything, and then slowly I felt like, okay, let's. Hey Peter, I really owe you and your class so much. I would love to teach you guys
Mm.
something. I know you guys are graduating this year. What do you want to learn?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just asked them. I'll just make something for you guys, and so we sounded ideas, and that's where photography came in for their case presentations, for their OSCEs, and then the next one though I thought was like, oh, I don't think they teach you much about veneers or aesthetics. Let's just do a crash course before you graduate. So we'll do that. And then slowly, and the power of social media, people will reach out to you that for an opportunity. So that's when Strawman reached out to me to teach about orthodontics and clear aligners, and I took that, and that was around about the same time when Peter and Audrey's class were graduating, and I was like, great, let's teach clear aligners to these new grads so they can graduate with the ability to do very easy, safe, keep it safe. They've got that in their back pocket for the future. They might not want to do it straight away. Um, and I felt like clear aligners is such a important skill to at least have and be aware about.
Understand.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like even if it's just something simple, something limited at the front, you've got that in your back pocket, and so that's how I got in. That was the start of it, and it's just been a bit of a ride now. Uh, and my good friend Jonathan from Brisbane, uh, Dr. Jonathan Ning, um, uh, uh, me and him, we just met at courses, and I think doing courses as a young graduate dentist is so powerful. You meet so many like-minded colleagues, friends for life, and I love that. I love going to courses without my friends as well. I like meeting new friends, and it could be around the world. And don't hesitate to invest in your education, invest in yourself, and don't hesitate to invest in courses overseas. They could be like $20,000, $30,000. Um, but it'll be so worth it. I think it compounds the younger you do it. And these days, with what's available to you, that we've got such a strong local crowd of educators that it's, yeah. If I had that when I first started, it's so powerful. Like you've got dentists, young dentists in their first 2 or 3 years out, like yourself, who have so much potential and who've done these courses that would have taken me like 5 to 6 years to master. But the training and education for that, and now with AI, you can be a really good dentist within a couple of years. And even if you're an experienced dentist, and you're deciding, I would like to learn more about my dentistry and upskill. I think that's the beauty and the privilege of being a dentist, that you can choose so many paths of wherever you want to go.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, and like even as you said yourself, like it evolved over the years. Like I think that's kind of the thing with us as dentists is your path's not set, it's not fixed, and it can evolve. And you mentioned at one point, like getting close to wanting to own your own practice and go into practice ownership, and then deciding, you know what, no, actually, I'm quite happy being an associate and having that time to be able to look after my family and come home and not have to worry about looking after the practice as well, and then having the freedom and at one point doing all these big cases and then turning 360 and deciding, "Actually, I wanna focus on these things." Like, there is so much play. There's so much, like,
Yeah.
room to explore. Mhm.
Uh, I forgot to mention, because my wife's from Japan, part of our goals is eventually migrating. I keep on saying that so that it will hopefully come true,
Or
that
manifest.
we do my
Yeah.
yeah, I'm saying
Yeah.
it to everyone because
Yeah.
I would love to take that opportunity, and that's what sort of stopped us from ownership partnerships at the moment. And what we have, your privilege as a contractor or an associate dentist, is that freedom from restriction, from coming back to a practice that you have to manage, staff that you have to manage, that freedom of mobility. Don't forget that, you know, your qualification uh, is recognized in a few countries, that you have that ability to migrate and pursue. I always envy the friends that I have non-dental, that are like kind of like wandering souls, that they sort of travel. They take a Europe here, they go here, but I'm stuck here in this room doing my fillings and filling away. But we come back to that sort of idea of, are we working for tomorrow or living for today? And I'm certainly trying to have that balance now, especially. And yeah, so take pride as an associate contractor, because you are paying the people, you're paying them to worry about that stress of people finding you patients. You might not want to do content creation. You might want to sit back and let them manage your books, and you do have to sacrifice that control of, you know, how many dentists they decide to hire, that control of how many cases they decide to give you. But don't forget the benefits of your position, that you pay them to stress about marketing, and you pay them to make sure that you have a nurse, that you have the right inventory, and also think about how long you decide to stay where you are. Um, you know, don't spend too long in a place if you feel like you sort of maximize your talents and you don't feel appreciated. Always be on the lookout for future opportunities, and take every opportunity seriously. Interview. I had an interview once to potentially work in Singapore recently. It was pretty cool, because it's kind of on the way to Japan, and
On to Japan? You're like,
um,
almost there.
yeah, um, and it
Mhm.
was really cool. Like it was a practice in Singapore, and they have like a high Japanese clientele, and half like a lot of the dentists and people there kind of speak a bit. And I'm like, if I close my eyes and if I don't think
I could
about,
pretend.
so yeah, stability, and I don't have to think about money. And we go back to that like humble bubble. I think about my family. I don't compare about what others have. I think I could see myself there. I could see like that's one step closer to my life dream, my what I want in life, and I could see myself there. But then I think about the stress, and I think about uh, starting over again. These things that are in my mind that play with me. But it was just fascinating. You know, as an associate dentist, don't just, yes, you can be content, and it's good to learn to be content, but also be open to whatever opportunities arise and seek that opportunity. So through social media, that's so powerful, and like I just find it crazy how we use like Mark Zuckerberg's platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and even TikTok to build our identity and our reputation and our brand. I think that's so important as a new dentist, and even just as an experienced dentist. I sort of feel like gone are the days where, you know, you're in the, forget about the yellow pages. I don't know whether if you know what the yellow pages are, but like, um, or even just like traditional marketing, like on like TVs. I think it's all like now it's going to like your patients will be like they're not going to probably do a Google search. They're going to be doing like an I did, for example, I did an Instagram search on our obstetrician, our gynecologist. I wanted to see what their social media presence was like. Yeah, there's some of them that are pretty savvy, and they're holding babies and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I like her. She's pretty good. And or I like him. He's really like he's got a voice. Um, they'll be on TikTok and uh, yeah. So that's yeah. I didn't even attach my CV when I applied to this Singapore practice, just because I was curious, and I feel like our family is definitely exploring these things, and just to seek opportunity. And I didn't attach the CV. I just put my Instagram account on there, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was it. If you want to see, we can ask. I'll give it to you. But you probably learn a lot more as an employer from like like Facebook search or an Instagram search.
100%, right? It's so interesting, Alex. So I a few months ago I spoke at the dental practice owners conference. I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, so our listeners may have heard about this already a bit. But it was such a privilege to get to speak in front of a room full of like 300 practice owners. But they gave me the topic of the the workplace and motivation desires of a new grad in 2025. I had to think about it. And then I realized that like what I've realized that I needed to speak on, and I've kind of gone into this whole rabbit hole of just analyzing it and unpacking it, is just the generational differences and the generational shifts. And so my talk ended up just being inside the mind of Gen Z and conveying that to the more like yeah senior like practice owners who grew up in a different generation, and a lot of our practice owners are like they'll tend to be like the Gen X or the millennials, like that tends to be that generation that are our practice owners nowadays. And there are kind of those generational differences and a mismatch of just like expectations and like philosophy and like attitude. And you know I see this like this gap between grads nowadays and when they go job hunting, and then practice owners getting frustrated because they're like grads just see things so differently to how they saw things. And like a really good example is just like, and it's all come to do with like different times, like times were different. As you said, I think previously it was very typical for a dentist, like the trajectory was like, you're a dentist for X number of years, and then it's kind of the expectation that everyone becomes a practice owner. That was the trajectory of a dentist is you work as an associate dentist for a number of years, you upskill, and then you become a practice owner. And then, the with the shift, and then I think with like the millennial practice owners, like there I always say that the millennials are like the entrepreneurs and the trailblazers and the dream makers, but then they ended up and this is probably like similar for you, Alex. I know you graduated a similar year as my brother, but it was such a hyper competitive job market that like all of them would like send out like hundreds of like resumes and just take whatever job was given to them because it was so hard to get a job at that time. I don't know if it was the same for you, but then I think that's kind of a lot of practice owners then felt like, you just accept whatever is given to you because it's so hard to get a job. And they were so grateful as new grads to even be offered a job opportunity. Whereas then nowadays, I feel like with Gen Z, it's actually, and it might change over this, I expect it to change over these next few years. But like it's like a new grads market. At least for the last few years, it was a new grads market because practice owners wanted grads and they needed dentists. There was like a shortage of dentists. And so it ended up being this case where like as grads you could be a little bit picky. And it ends up being this sort of like double-edged sword where like you can afford to be a little bit pickier because everyone wants to hire a dentist and you're like, "Oh, I wanna make sure that where I am is good for me." But then it also becomes like decision paralysis because then you're just like, "Oh, is it right for me?" And, you were mentioning about, like, not limiting yourself, but then also the flip side is a fine balance of, yeah, being ambitious and looking for the next opportunity, but also not giving whatever opportunity you already have a good shot. And,
Mhm.
like getting those reps in and grounding yourself and making the most of that opportunity. Because I think people do then tend have that tendency to get cold feet and be like, "Oh, but maybe it's better there," or maybe, so and so is better. So it's a lot, but then there's that shifted mentality where new grads nowadays aren't necessarily, like, looking to go into practice ownership, or, like, there's a lot more of that flexibility and freedom, and as you said, like, pursuing other interests and, finding your why and doing what you enjoy and going traveling, and yeah, it's I think we're in such a just a interesting time. I think there's very much been a shift, and also the rapid rate of growth with, like, social media and online learning, like, the potential for grads nowadays is just the potential for growth is exponential. Like, we will upskill far faster than any generation before us. So it's a combination of everything that I feel, yeah, it's interesting where dentistry will go in these next few years.
So
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. My mentors probably spent about 15 to 20 years to learn, mastering implants and their dentistry. It probably took me about 8, mm, yeah, probably about 8 years to feel like I could know everything. And I think nowadays, the current generation, that it'd probably be like 2 or 3 years. Um, and with the access to learning and free learning as well, we had to pay for a lot of mentorship when I first graduated, like mentoring or case checking over like a pros case or an ortho case, especially. Ortho mentorship was quite lucrative back in the day, but now that's kind of all free. Um, so that's such a rapid rise in the gurus that are out there and the educational sources that are out there, which is a good thing. Hmm.
Mhm. Mm. It's been a very thought-provoking discussion. Hey, Alex.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thanks for the opportunity, Erica.
Yeah. Did you have any, like, things that you wanted to come back to? Because I know we touched on so many different things, but usually, like, my I like to end the podcast by asking all my guests is that, we have so many of these conversations with people day in, day out. Um, a lot of times when I podcast, I'm usually inspired by the topic of, like, oh, a conversation or an incident that has happened recently, and that tends to be like what fuels my thought for process for, like, when I bring a guest on. But I wondered with yourself, like, have there been any, like, similar, like, thought provoking discussions that you've had with people recently, or a story that's kind of stuck with you? You mentioned a few in today's discussion, like your friend with the kayaking, or like your mentor about, like, being intentional with, like, your bird. Like, people say things and it just sticks with you. And I wondered,
Yeah.
like, in recent times, has there been a conversation that stuck with you that you think would be good to share for our graduate dentist audience?
Let me give that some thought. There's so
You
much,
can give it
but
some.
I think
Yeah.
we've covered a lot, and a lot of
Mm.
the current inspirational, the humble bubble. Uh,
Yeah. Tell me about that. I like
it's
that.
so easy
Mm.
to compare. I read about it in a book called The Art of Spending. I can't remember the author's name, but The Art of Spending. He also wrote books on the psychology of money, and it's not about like investing. It's not about like building finance, but it's about finding a balance. Yeah, and the humble bubble being your family or you, and competing with yourself and not thinking about what others around you might be thinking, or and basically thinking about what's important in your life, and uh, buying that nice car from studying all these years, or that, or is it like maybe clothing that you wear or the handbag that you buy? That's all like social signaling. So it's signaling to society that I've made it. But what really matters in life is maybe the core memories, like the little running crew that you guys have sort of started, or my small
Mm-hmm.
climbing career. I even had
Mm-hmm.
I even had
Alex
a
Boulders.
Instagram. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My it was a big hit when I had one reel that reached the Indian
Did it really?
TikTok or the Indian Instagram continent, and it just like blew up from there. But um, yeah, so those little things in life that's it's so easy to get stuck into your dentistry, and uh, that
Mhm.
might be the dentist that might be rewarding for you, but there's also so much in life that you can think of. So I I always come back to my humble bubble as well. Everything that I have to give to the new grad, and I hope that it enriches your experience. And I'm speaking to the audience. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought this was such a fun conversation, Alex. It's so wonderful to have you on and being able to just unpack so many different things. And I was always think it's really refreshing. I love your comments about how, whilst we have so much to learn from our senior dentists, it's also nice to see, your comments about learning so much from your younger dentists who are dental students now, young dentists as well. But it's kind of that whole team effort that we all have something to learn and to take away from everyone. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Graduate Dentist Podcast. I really hope you've taken something valuable away from this episode and that you feel heard, you feel seen, inspired, and optimistic about our journey as graduate dentists. As I always say, we're in it together, so let's spread the word, let's share the love, send this to your friends, your colleagues, and those who are on a similar path who you feel may benefit from being part of the community. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so send me a message, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for another episode.